Today, Patrick and I are doing a little Guess That game. We have brought 5 different teams, and we're going to try to guess if they're good, bad, or just okay. Let's get into foul trouble. I don't think I explained that well in the opener.
You know what? We'll get into it. Get ready, because it's going to be a lot of fun. We got a bunch of lineups, 5-man, 4-man, 3-man, 2-man, 1-man.
Yeah, so basically, I saw this graphic on Instagram, which is always, the great originator of ideas. That was like, here's the best 5 lineups in the NBA that have played a minimum of 150 possessions, which I fact-checked and wasn't true. But it was interesting because 3 of these lineups included the Miami Heat, the San Antonio Spurs.
Who are the other ones?
There was one other odd team.
There was a Boston one in there. But yeah, just basically the fact of the matter is they were all lineups that you wouldn't expect to be super dominant. So we were like, let's dive in. Let's try to find. I took the West. James took the East. And we're trying to kind of surprise each other in like, is X lineup with X player, good, bad,
okay,
ugly, okay,
great, horrible. And we're going to do it in an interesting way. We're going to go 1 to 5. So we'll have 1-man lineups, 2-man lineups, 3-man lineups, 4-man lineups, 5-man lineups. So obviously a 5-man lineup would be like a starting lineup. Is that a good starting lineup by the data? Is it a bad one? Why is it good? Why is it bad? A 1-man lineup would be like, how are the Celtics when Jason Tatum plays? Are they good? Are they bad? A 2-man lineup would be, something... Sorry about my alarm. So something Brunson Towns. How are the Knicks when Brunson and Towns are out there together? But we're gonna start with 1-man lineups,
or we're gonna start with best take, worst take.
Oh yes, we are gonna start with best take.
We
worst
can't
take.
get too far ahead of ourselves. This is the part of the show.
I just got so excited.
I know. There's a lot of fun stuff going on. We haven't even talked about the in-season, the NBA Cup champion Milwaukee Bucks taking out OKC Thunder. I feel like they'll come up organically throughout the show.
Yes. Before we get into best take, worst take, or that, question though about the Bucks: was there a team that feels more like last year's Lakers?
Yes,
this year's Bucks?
Bro. No way you said that. I wrote that down. They are so last year's Lakers coded, because I was thinking I was taking myself back to last year's NBA Cup and how it just completely shook my distrust in the Lakers, and I was like, the Lakers are awesome, and then they went on a fucking 12-game losing streak right afterwards. And I mean, are the Bucks back?
Kinda.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big difference between the Lakers and the Bucks is I think Giannis is playing at a level that neither LeBron or Anthony Davis played at any point last season. He was just so dominant throughout this whole NBA Cup run. But I really liked the kind of how they handled the win last night. Did you see that?
Yeah, they didn't party or anything.
They didn't
party after they won the actual championship, apparently, famously.
But Giannis, although he didn't party, he was giving long-ass answers to every ESPN microphone in front of them. And I just really liked how he was saying, this is big. We set out to do this. We accomplished it. We're a team, and this is the first trophy we're going to win this year.
Ooh.
He even addressed that they were going to put up a banner at Fiserv Forum.
Uh-oh.
Yeah.
Is he foreshadowing Damian Lillard bringing up that ASG MVP, or?
Yeah, perhaps. You know what I was thinking? If Chris Paul was Giannis's point guard instead of Damian Lillard, he would have gotten so much shit for winning the NBA Cup last night.
Yeah.
And Damian Lillard just slides by, not nearly as much playoff success as Chris Paul. Whatever.
Hey, you don't got to tell. I'm a big CP guy.
I know you are. I'm just saying.
Best take, worst take. Patrick, what is your best take of the week?
My best take of the week, I went on kind of a little rabbit hole with this one, but my best take of the week is going to Dyson Daniels, who says the New Orleans Pelicans are cursed, and he's glad that he's no longer playing there. That organization's cursed. Every year there's something new. I'm happy I'm not there anymore. Do people not know that New Orleans is cursed? And I felt like, can I have a little Patrick's history corner?
The city of voodoo is not cursed?
The city of Voodoo is cursed, and it should be considered the Pistol Pete curse. Do you know about this?
Tell me.
Okay, so 1974. There is a brand new team. The NBA is coming to New Orleans with the New Orleans Jazz, and they're doing their like expansion draft, right? And so they drafted a couple players. They got some good guys like Bob Kaufman, who's like a 3-time All-Star at the time. Dean Meminger, who's like a key role player on those Knicks teams that won championships. And they're like, let's put all these guys together with a bunch of draft picks, our next 2 firsts and our next 2 second-round picks, and let's trade for the great white hope, Pistol Pete Maravich, who he had been doing okay in Atlanta at the time, but like gets injured a lot, won a scoring title, but like, I mean, I think Trae Young is kind of a good approximation of what Pistol Pete was. But so they trade this huge package for Pistol Pete Maravich before they even played a game. And then they're like, you know what? The people of Louisiana, they need more white basketball players on this team. So then in September, they put together this huge package of a bunch of like starting level players and another first round pick to trade for this guy, Neil Walk, who was the second pick in the draft after Kareem. So all of that, and they had, of those picks they traded, 3 of those picks ended up being David Thompson, Hall of Famer, Alex English, Hall of Famer, and Adrian Dantley, Hall of Famer. And so obviously it did not work out. They were in New Orleans for the next 6 years. They didn't make the playoffs at all. And then by that time, no one in New Orleans was interested in basketball at all. And they were like, you know what? We got to pack it up, move to Utah. They're going to keep the name. Utah Jazz end up making the playoffs 20 of the next 24 seasons. And the rest is history. They didn't have basketball back in New Orleans until the Hornets moved. But it was all because they felt like they needed American white players instead of building a franchise organically with just the best players and all their assets that they had available. So
you could say while every other team was going for a rebuild, they were going for a reconstruction.
Yes, you can. But I just say this to say, like, the curse of the Bambino, that was like such a big thing. This is a curse. The New Orleans Pelicans are cursed, and it's with the curse of Pistol Pete. And I wanted to
wait. I feel like you omitted the craziest curse of Pistol Pete fact ever. Have you heard his quote about dying?
Oh, I mean, he did die very dramatically.
So, Pistol Pete said at the age of 26, I don't want to play 10 years in the NBA and die of a heart attack at age 40. He died of a heart attack at age 40.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He literally predicted his own. Well, he said he didn't want it, but he predicted his own death 14 years ahead of time.
So, story about the day he died. So late in Pistol Pete's life, he became like very, very into his faith. And he had kind of like, he just got on that like circuit where he's doing speeches all the time. And he really didn't ever play basketball. And he was in California when he was 40. And this one guy that he like kept meeting at all these conventions and churches and stuff was like, you got to play pickup with us. You got to play pickup with us. He finally agrees to go play pickup. And then he has his heart attack, and he had like a congenital heart malfunction that like you should have been able to catch, like especially with like being a professional athlete, going to see doctors all the time. It's crazy that they never saw it. And then the one time he picks up a ball again, and this is right after like his dad passed away. He had like a really, really weird relationship with his father. Yeah, Pistol Pete, very weird, sad figure that his name is thrown around all the time, and it's like this is a weird ghost to bring up.
I don't think Dyson Daniels knew about all this when he.
That's why I had to say something. Okay, that was my best take of the week. What do you have, James?
No, I do feel like I feel like to add on to that too. I feel like another big curse too is like the whole like I don't know. You have Anthony like the 2011 tank race for Anthony Davis was a lot like this year, where like a lot of teams were like, holy shit, we need to be really bad so we can get Anthony Davis. And the year he leaves, he wins a championship.
Yeah. Well, and what was the Chris Paul for the Lakers package?
It was.
I feel like that package, it was like Odom, Gasol. Like, I felt like that package was way better than what they ended up getting too.
Yeah. My best take is going to go to Jalen Brunson. I feel like Jalen Brunson is keeping his crown as, I feel like, the most relatable NBA star. When asked about Trae Young standing over the Knicks logo at half court, blowing on and rolling dice on the Knicks logo, he said, quote, "We should win the game if we don't want him to do that."
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You're right, Jalen Brunson, because that shit is great.
Yeah.
Like, we need more of that in the NBA.
Yeah, I like Jalen Brunson a lot. All right, what is your worst take?
I have got the one, the only Stephen A. Smith, who said about Joel Embiid that Joel Embiid is almost on the same level as Ben Simmons. Let me say this to Joel Embiid in all seriousness. You're about a tad bit away from being compared to Ben Simmons. You bring up the injuries and all of that stuff. I look at the disinterest on his face, the lack of enthusiasm. Stephen A. Smith, this man just played basketball in the Olympics all summer. You're telling me that he doesn't like playing basketball? That's bullshit.
I don't want to misquote, but I did see this on social media that I think since 1979, Joel Embiid is like 1 out of every 10 facial fracture injuries in NBA history.
That's crazy. And I completely believe it, because who breaks their face more than Joel Embiid?
Who breaks their face at all?
And how can someone break their face and you be like, see,
Pussy.
He didn't want it enough. He didn't want it enough.
Yeah,
and I bet he'll be back wearing a mask before he probably should be.
Yeah. No, Embiid plays through his injuries. Like, I've been pretty critical of him this year, but like the guy plays through his injuries pretty consistently. Now, he hasn't been playing well, so maybe he shouldn't, but all right, this is my worst take. I don't know this guy's first name, McIntyre. A guest on the Colin Cowherd show.
Oh, I saw this.
So I would argue
McIntyre. Yeah.
McIntyre. I would argue that Inside the NBA, the show that everyone loves, has done more damage to the NBA the last decade than anything. Inside the NBA goes on every week and just trashes players, trashes the style of play. What are you doing? I don't know.
I think this is an interesting take. I was thinking, when I saw the headline, I was like, nah, that's bullshit. But it's true.
But the thing is, the reason they trash the players and they trash the style of play, I would argue, is because they deserve it sometimes.
Yes, I'm with you. But he's right that, like, you don't see the Fox NFL guys trashing, like, gameplay or like players, making fun of players the way you see the Inside the NBA guys. And although it's true, is it detrimental?
I don't know. I feel like Shaqtin' a Fool has been good for the NBA.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm probably more on your side, but I think there's an interesting devil's advocate here.
Yeah. All right, Max, worst take. We go into Stephen A. or McIntyre?
I am going to give it to Stephen A. Smith again for the second week in a row.
Whoa, he's streaking up, baby.
Stephen A's on a
Let's
streak.
go.
Yeah, I feel like Inside the NBA on the whole is good for basketball.
I think so too.
Like, I get that it's a little like goofy and, you know, maybe has like degraded the overall quality of like sports commentary. Like, I could see that argument, but
I feel like the reason I think it's a bad take is because I feel like the way that they talk about it is the way a lot of the fans are feeling
okay.
about the sport in general. I feel like, especially with the way the ratings have been coming in lately, I feel like there is, a general distaste of the way the game has evolved a little bit lately.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I see what you mean. I think for me, like, old players making fun of current players is like retired players making fun of current players is like okay to me. What I don't like is Draymond Green getting on the broadcast and just talking shit about current, like he is a current player talking shit about current players. It's like not really fair. They're like not there to defend themselves, and like
it almost feels like professional wrestling.
Yeah,
at that point.
I did not like last. I think we talked about it on the pod, but I kind of hated last year when like it's like the Wolves Mavs conference finals, and every game Draymond Green's like, "Oh, Rudy Gobert's a scrub." Like I don't like Rudy Gobert. I've complained, but I think it is weird when Draymond Green is going there acting like he's just. First off, he's still playing.
Yeah, it's weird. It's weird, but yeah.
So, okay, my next question, now that we've brought up the Inside the NBA crew, have you looked into the All-Star game rules?
I just know the new format in general. I haven't looked into the nitty-gritty.
Okay, so the new All-Star game, and it bears mentioning in the Inside the NBA guys because they are crucial parts of this All-Star game format.
Are they the coaches?
So 24 NBA All-Star selections will be divided into 3 8-player teams, and then the 4th team will be a Rising Stars team. Mm-hmm. The honorary general managers of these teams are Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Kenny Smith, and then Candace Parker will be the Rising Stars. The Inside the NBA guys are going to draft the teams, and then it's going to be a little like a bracket to determine who wins. What do you think? What do you think, fellas?
I think Charles should draft Kevin Durant.
That would be hilarious. I don't hate it, but I also feel like, I don't know, like it's just going to be kind of nothing, like it always is.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how I feel about this, to be honest.
I don't know.
So I think the idea here is that the Rising Stars will be like, F you, All-Stars, we're going to win. And it's all hinging on the idea that the All-Stars are going to be like, we don't want you to win. But what if they don't?
So the Rising Stars is going to have this year's rookie class, which is pretty mid.
And Wemby.
And
Amen Thompson.
And Asar Thompson.
And yeah.
And
last draft class was good.
Miller.
Brandon Miller. Yeah.
I could see the Rising Stars winning the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably put money on it right now.
I mean, if we're just talking about like the amount of effort that's going to be put in.
See, this is a big problem with the All-Star game, and I feel like this new format is actually going to really highlight a big issue with the All-Star game, which is the real issue with the All-Star game is the players. It has been the players. They don't try, and the big issue too is like you'll take Doncic, you'll take Jokic, who are 2 of the best, let's say 3 or 4 players in the NBA. Do you draft them close to the top, knowing they're the best 2 of the best 3 players? Do you draft them at the bottom, knowing they never care?
Yeah, that's a great question. I also think it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy of disappointment with like all these changes to the All-Star game. Because like, say it's really competitive and really great, like, does that reflect immediately? Like, it's gonna be like a couple years, and like, who's to say if it's so great this year, if it will be great again next year?
It's like the Elam ending. It was great the first year, was good the second year, and then it was terrible the third year.
I don't know.
I think the players, there needs to be more pressure on the players. There's not enough.
But like, how do you put pressure on the players?
I don't know. We need to do like a public bullying or public shaming.
Like,
I'm sorry, we have to. It's time.
If your heart rate does
these
not
guys
get
are making
above-
so much millions every year. They can take some cyberbullying.
What can we point to a specific year where the All-Star game like fell off?
I mean,
Is there?
I've heard like
I want to say like early 2010s.
98, like the last one with MJ was kind of like one of the last great ones.
Has it been that long?
No. I want to say like circa 2013-14. In my opinion.
I don't know.
I feel like the first few I watched when I became an NBA fan were pretty good. Like, not the first 3 quarters, but the 4th quarter was always good.
Yeah. I don't
like
know.
that's the
I
thing.
think back to like those, what is it, like 2009, 2010, where like Shaq or like Amari and Marion were still in them, and they were still getting up to like 150, 160
Yeah, I feel like since I've become an NBA fan, it was always the first 3 quarters are like this kind of a mess, and then the 4th quarter is usually really competitive. But you know what it was? I was talking to some friends about this yesterday. I feel like the NBA has never really they kind of did with Steph, LeBron, but you know, like people talk about like the players don't hate each other anymore. Like Kobe and LeBron never hated each other, but it did feel like when they played, they were both really like, this is a big moment.
Yeah. Because it was, and then like,
And
I
I felt
has
like
there
that
been another
it always like you felt that energy through the competitive 4th quarter of the All-Star. I don't know, that like 2018 when they had the Elam ending for the first time was pretty good.
Yeah, that one was pretty good.
I want to say the year after was pretty good in the 4th quarter too.
It's just such a weird thing, the NBA All-Star game, because I feel like the NBA All-Star game and every All-Star game, it's like a game that like real hardcore fans don't really care about and that casuals really, really care about. And because of that like dichotomy, I feel like everyone's like ripe to be disappointed no matter what.
But I feel like hardcore fans would be caring about it if they knew they were going to try.
Yeah, because I mean, it's like if you think about it, it's like the Avengers of like basketball.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, all the good guys are gonna get together and just fucking, you know.
So home court for the NBA Finals, East West.
Honestly,
do
like,
it
might be
MLB style.
time. It might be time.
I think there needs to be a 1v1 event.
I think.
I mean,
you
that
know
would be
what? This is a
interesting.
weird observation. I don't know if it's like an anecdotal thing, but I went to All Star in Utah. I want to say 2 years ago. And low key, what kind of ruined that game and why it never got close in the fourth quarter was whatever team, I don't remember which team Jason Tatum was on, was up by so much, in part because Jason Tatum scored like 40 points in the first 3 quarters and could not miss from 3.
So you're saying Jason Tatum?
No,
ruined
I'm
the
not
All-Star
blaming
game.
Jason Tatum, but this kind of happened, I think, the year before or after where Damian Lillard like just
Yeah.
caught absolute fire, and they're not playing defense, which is what's allowing.
That's what I was gonna say.
What's
yeah.
allowing guys like, because once Tatum is on a streak, like he can make like 15 threes in a row. He's that good.
Especially when there's not a hand in
defense.
his face.
Yeah, and so I think that's the thing is I remember like Jason Tatum's team entered the fourth quarter up like 40 points, so it was like the Elam ending is like just as pointless as the time ending at that point.
Yeah. Yeah. And all these games for this year, it's just first to 40. So it's like pickup game rules,
Yeah.
which I don't know. I guess gives you some elements.
Also,
of
the subbing
Elam
is
ending.
weird. Are you going to start your best 5 and then sub them out? So the subs play toward the end?
I don't know. They should have like hockey substitutions. It's
Yeah.
just like run off court, get back in there.
All right, we're not going to fix the All-Star game. Should we get to our exercise? Our
Let's
lineup
get
exercise?
to why we came here today. We've got some lineups.
We do. All right. Do you want to go first? You want me to go first? You want to start at the 1 or the 5?
Let's start at the 1.
Okay.
So how do you want me to just say the player's name?
Yes, say the player's name, and I'll guess if the team is horrible, bad, okay, good, or great.
Okay. Ivica Zubac.
I'm gonna say great.
He is good, approaching great.
Okay.
This guy, so the reason I kind of wanted to bring up Zubac is obviously the Clippers have been much better than a lot of people anticipated them to be this season. And Zubac is in the 86th percentile for points per possession on offense, 77th on defense, and in the 89th percentile of just overall differential. He's adding about 27 projected wins to the Clippers this season, which is super, super elite. And I bring him up just to say, like, I don't think it's like a huge surprise that he's been a huge plus, but why is this guy... Ivica Zubac makes $11 million this year. Would it be stupid for them to sell high on Zubac right now?
No,
Right?
it would not be stupid at all.
He makes exactly as much money as Jonas Valanciunas, a name that everyone is throwing around in the trade market right now. And people are saying like Valanciunas might be worth, 3 second-round picks to a like very solid first-round pick. If Valanciunas is worth that, Zubac, what is he worth? 2, 3 first-round picks? 2 first-round picks and a young player? I don't know. Just he's been like literally the quality of center that is like borderline all-star, probably top 12 in the league this year, maybe higher. I would have to like...
Yeah, I feel like Zoo's one of the more reliable, like dump the ball down low, get a bucket type of bigs. Like even though you don't think of him as that. And I feel like I'm not going to contrast him with Valanciunas, but yeah, I mean, he's a good player. Like, yeah, I think the Clippers, I know they're like, what, are they the 5th seed right now? Are they the 4th seed? Maybe they're the 6th seed, but like they probably should be selling high on guys like Zoo.
And I gotta think with a guy like James Harden, you can kind of do the same thing next year. Like if you get an above average center and it's just the James Harden and your center show and he's just feeding him. Like I feel like this is a sustainable like
System.
growth system just
Yeah.
to like kind of manufacture picks for a team that is so pick barren. Why not? Yeah, the Clippers, They've fallen back to the 9th seed, but they're 15-12 this year. Like,
Yeah, they're good.
they're a good, solid team.
They have the second apron harbinger.
Yes.
Norman Powell.
There we go. I mean, hey, he can't miss a shot.
Okay, I have another James Harden prodigy. I've got Clint Capela.
Love it.
And what do you think?
Geez. Okay. I'm gonna guess that he's been good this year.
They're okay, leaning good with Clint.
Okay.
But really, I did Clint as an exercise to say they're bad with Okongwu.
Yeah. I think Okongwu might be a bust.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking about this, and I think it's important to remember, like, close your eyes and bring yourself back to the 2020 draft. When
Oh my God.
Atlanta
what
Hawks,
a time to be alive.
The Atlanta Hawks, basically, after they drafted Trae Young, are just trying desperately to become a Warriors facsimile. The Heat make the finals off of like a switchable Bam defense, which is on the heels of the Cavs being a great defense with Tristan Thompson because of his switchability. And I think they drafted Okongwu with the thought of like, this will be the next Bam Adebayo, Tristan Thompson. This guy can switch onto guards and do it all. And Onyeka's, the Hawks have a 118 defensive rating with Onyeka and a 108 with Clint.
Oof.
It is a gigantic gap in how bad their defense gets with Onyeka and how their defense is actually pretty solid with Clint, even when Trae's playing. And I think like this, for anyone who's not following the Hawks, me, myself included, too closely, I think all of us have kind of been like, Onyeka's waiting in the wings for them to move on from Clint Capela. But
I mean, he was the, third overall draft pick?
But I think now it's like, the Hawks probably should find another Clint Capela effect, like a bigger, more strong, solid center who can really defend the rim better. Clint's obviously not the tallest, but he's taller than Onyeka. He's also heavier. And I will say they're better on offense with Onyeka, but they're worse overall. And I was looking kind of like their rate numbers and like defensively, like block percentage, rebound, everything's just better with Capela. Whereas on offense, like Onyeka, yeah, he shoots threes, but he shoots like 27%. So it's kind of like, I kind of feel like the gap between Onyeka and Clint, from what I'm seeing in the data, is only going to get worse over the course of the season and not better. So yeah, I'm a little worried about like Okongwu. I don't know what they're going to do with him.
That also feels like kind of like a sell right now kind of guy for a team that we've talked about it a lot, doesn't have their own first round pick this year. So there's no reason to like, take their foot off the gas, especially with how fun they've been. But this will be a huge problem coming up. Clint Capela is on an expiring deal. And they just locked in Onyeka Okongwu to this new $14 million a year, 4-year extension. But I got to say, I think we've kind of found a match made in heaven with our two selections. Because
The guy I still...
Onyeka Okongwu for a Ivica Zubac and a minimum deal works in the trade machine.
The guy I really kind of want to see end up in Atlanta, because I just feel like it's kind of a match made in heaven.
Giannis.
Rudy Gobert.
Ooh. Yeah. I mean, you've got Quinn there. He's ready. He knows how to...
Like, you need to help Trae at the rim. Because the Hawks can be a layup. Like, they can be a team that just allows too many shots at the rim. Now, like, I feel like pairing Rudy with Trae Young is going to help that lob game that Rudy relies on. You've got Dyson Daniels now on the perimeter. You're shoring up some of the perimeter defensive pieces. I feel like that's kind of the place to be. Like, I don't know if they'll be as good as, Utah was, but I mean,
Utah
was really good. Yeah. All right, who's your two-man lineup?
Okay, dude, you're kind of blowing my mind with this Rudy Gobert thing. It would have to happen low-key this year.
Yeah.
And Clint Capela and DeAndre Hunter works almost to the dollar. Okay.
Max, how you feel about that?
Take him. It's fine.
All right.
Oh, but it cannot.
Although he has been playing pretty well defensively.
Yeah, defensively.
Don't look at the offensive possessions.
All right, I won't look.
Don't look, please.
It
I
actually
won't look.
cannot happen. Rudy Gobert cannot be traded until September 28th. Or maybe the offseason because he signed on September 28th.
They'll figure something out.
They'll figure something out. Get Rudy in Atlanta. Come on. He needs the lemon pepper wings. Okay, my two-man lineup. Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama.
Great.
Yeah, pretty good.
I knew it. I knew this was going to
Pretty
happen
good.
before the season.
I gotta come in and say a big I was wrong. I was poo-pooing the Chris Paul
The only
signing.
reason I am upset with you for poo-pooing the Chris Paul signing is Patrick, I feel like in a world of Chris Paul haters, me and you are Chris Paul fans.
Yes, that is true. We are Chris Paul fans. I don't know. I thought Father Time had sucked just enough juice out of Chris Paul, but it looks like no. Of all of the two-man lineups in the Western Conference, they have the 19th best offensive rating and the 11th best net rating of any two-man lineup that has played at least 500 minutes together. They just, they fit in the places that the other one needs them to fit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's looked exactly how we all imagined it. The idea of Chris Paul and Victor Wembanyama is Victor's just going to go stand under the hoop and Chris Paul's going to chuck the ball.
Yeah, Chris Paul's going to do his Luka playoff impersonation and just throw balls near the backboard. Yeah.
And the problem with that is the Spurs don't have the spacing to make that a reality. Partly because of Chris Paul, but it's worked out really well. There's just looking at all of the lineup data, the Spurs constantly come up in 2-man, 3-man, 4-man lineups. Harrison Barnes has been awesome for them. I don't know how sustainable it is in a long-term sense, especially with just how competitive the West is this year. Obviously, it's not sustainable long-term, but just looking at the rest of the season.
Well, also, do you want to put money on what kind of injury Chris Paul is going to?
It's going to be his hand.
Yeah, I'm thinking wrist.
I'm thinking wrist.
I
think he's had 15 surgeries on his hand. But yeah, just I don't know, it makes sense. Chris Paul's biggest problems are he can't bring the ball past half court when it's nut crunching time, and he needs really, really great rim protection behind him. Bada bing, bada boom. Victor Wembanyama is here, and he's making it all happen.
All right, my two-man lineup, which is really funny in light of last night. I've got Giannis Antetokounmpo and Damian Lillard. They've played over 1,000 possessions together.
Jeez.
So this is the biggest sample size lineup I have.
Sub them out, Doc. What are you doing? Okay, I will assume that they're great.
They are bad.
Okay, why?
Okay, so overall they hang around a 113 offensive rating. For reference, the league average is around 115, 116 this year, which means every 100 possessions NBA teams on average score about 116 points. So the Bucks are worse than that with Lillard and Giannis on the court for the big sample size. What's weird is they have a great shot profile. So 80% of the shots they take are either at the rim or at three, and it's basically a 40-40 split.
And Giannis doesn't take threes anymore. Great job, Giannis.
Which is great. So there's one small issue and there's one huge issue with this team that I've kind of learned digging through all this data. They even though they don't take a lot of mid-range shots, they're also one of the worst mid-range shooting teams. Which is really funny in light of how much discussion there's been about Giannis.
And how good he can shoot mid-range shots.
Also,
now.
I have bad news for Bucks fans. I saw that Doc Sewing is we're going to put Giannis at the elbow. I've seen this story with Joel Embiid. It doesn't end well in the playoffs. But, taking big men away from the hoop.
I will say the thing that kind of worked and why I thought the Bucks were going to get absolutely smacked around last night, and part of why they didn't, obviously, the Thunder could not hit the broadside of a barn, but Giannis was kind of sneaking below the wall that they were building, and they were just kind of passing around it in a way that past Giannis teams did not. Past Giannis teams have been we're just going to run at that wall until it breaks. And thought that was very, very interesting.
But here's the real, and this is the other thing too. They're good at shooting at the rim. They're good at shooting threes, but they're not great at either as a team when these two are on the court. But here's the real big issue with these two. And these guys are playing so many possessions that the issues with their two-man lineups kind of extended the Bucks as a whole. Actually, I have one more issue. I found a lot of problems with this Bucks team, which is really funny because they just won the in-season tournament. They are horrible at rebounding. They rebound 20% of their offensive rebounds. The league average is close to 30. And the other weird thing, which is really unexpected for a Giannis team, they're horrible at converting their offensive rebounds into points. They're like one of the worst teams at getting rebounds and converting rebounds into points. Really not expected for the guys on this team, I feel like.
I gotta think like partially that's because of how Brook Lopez is used in this offense. Like he's always, not only is he standing at the 3-point line, he's standing like 6 steps past the 3-point line.
You just have to imagine in lineups where Giannis is on the court, he's probably the main offensive rebound getter. And with how well Giannis is playing overall, it doesn't seem like any of this is adding up. But also, here's another bad thing. Another reason why their defense is really bad. Their defensive rebounding is bad. They're below league average at defensive rebounding, and they're also one of the worst teams at defending offensive rebounds. It's like they don't score when they get offensive rebounds, but if you get an offensive rebound against them, you will score. And then this is the other thing I just thought was kind of interesting. So Gary Trent Jr., AJ Green, Andre Jackson are like the 3 guys who play 2 guard for this team. All 3 of those guys have starts. Andre Jackson has the most starts, but he only plays 18 minutes a game. I feel like other than the rebounding, I feel like another really big issue with this team and this 2-man lineup is like, who is the 2 guard? Who's supposed to be the 2 guard?
Yeah. I mean, I think Green has been like kind of what got them through the in-season tournament with his shooting and whatnot, but it's a huge question mark, and Gary Trent Jr. has been awful. Like, it might be the end of the road for him.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked about the rebounding stuff with this team, but all right.
Okay.
3-man
lineup. I got Julius Randle, Anthony Edwards, and Jaden McDaniels. We're doing this dance once again.
Well, knowing you, it's going to be terrible.
No, they've just been meh.
They're okay? They're like, what, plus or minus 1?
They have a 1.6 net rating, 110 offensive rating, and a 108 defensive rating. If they're so meh, why do I bring them up? Because I was looking into last year, their Karl Anthony Towns, Anthony Edwards, and Jaden McDaniels lineup. You want to guess what their net rating was, or if they were great or
I'm going to
bad?
guess they were probably plus 8.
It was a 9.9.
Wow.
So really, that is to say, like last season, kind of the 3-man lineup that made them super, super special was their lineup. This year's version of that lineup is with Julius Randle, but Jaden McDaniels has just taken a huge step back. And I think it's time to wonder, like, are they going to move off Jaden McDaniels right now? Which I think, like, if you even think about that a year ago, that's like unthinkable with where he put kind of his profile. We were thinking of him as like, and I know this is kind of tough to say with how Mikal's season has went, but we were thinking of him as like a proximity of Mikal Bridges, a guy that like any team would cut off their hand to get. And now we're sitting here. They just don't really have like, they have one super lineup, and it is with like Dante DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, and like, I can't even remember who the other guy was.
Is there any like secret McDaniels is hurt injury news?
What I will say is the last like 3 games in particular, he's been playing incredibly well. Ooh. So I think he might have just gotten off to a rough start and is going to start cooking. That is my hope, and the data might suggest that is true as well.
Hey, I mean, I can't speak for or against that talking point.
All I can say is that the Wolves have the number 1 defense again in the league.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do. But you know what? It's really hard to win when you can barely score 100 points.
I didn't say anything about offense. I just said defense.
But yeah, now
I feel like I'm getting some Suns Timberwolves like playoff animosities coming back.
We're having a mid-off right now.
I wish that series was closer last year. That would have been much more entertaining for the pod.
Yeah, me too.
I was cool with it.
I feel like it could have gotten a little toxic. But that Jaden McDaniels contract is like, I mean, it's a very reasonable sum, but $23 million next 5 years. Like, I think it's super tradable. I think a lot of teams could talk themselves into that being their final piece. And I think we're at the point in the Timberwolves season where it's like, we need to make a trade, and I would be shocked if Julius Randle was tradable currently.
All I will say is this Timberwolves team is full of so many guys that I'm like, I can see that guy winning a championship on a different team later in his career, but I don't think it's going to happen right now.
This year.
Yeah, like, is there a version of Jaden McDaniels where if his offense just still sucks and you on his next contract he's making like $10 million a season, and I'm like, hey, you can be Jared Vanderbilt, where maybe you don't play in some playoff series, but in another playoff series you can play a lot of minutes and just be locked down?
I think it's probably more like PJ Tuckery. But I don't know. It's scary. It could get really bad really quickly for Jaden McDaniels. Luckily, he's on the first year of a 5-year contract, but I mean, I think the next 2 years will be the influx point of like, is he on a minimum his next contract, or is he on, a
similar
$35 to $40 million deal? Because contracts in the NBA are just absolutely insane nowadays.
Yeah, we haven't done a Wolves check-in in 2 weeks since we had our screaming match about Julius Randle. I just Google searched Wolves.
We've won 6 for our last 7, so we're starting to get a lot.
They're starting to heat up.
A little bit.
Ooh, the Cat rematch is tomorrow.
Yeah, dude.
Oh,
that
in Minnesota.
is juicy.
Is he getting booed or cheered?
I think cheered. Yeah.
Yeah, they're 14-11, like all the other mid teams with great players.
Yep.
The Suns, the Nuggets, and the Warriors.
And if I remember correctly, our schedule is about to be pretty tough for the next couple of weeks. So, we'll see what happens.
Hey,
we'll see what happens.
I mean, you just rattled off a couple wins against
Clippers, Lakers, Warriors.
You guys own the coast.
Yeah, I'm kind of own the West Coast.
Yeah, the Lakers
deal.
just could not score against the Timberwolves if their lives.
We've been
depended
holding
on it.
teams to sub like 92 these last 6
80.
games.
Insane.
They held the Lakers to 80, the Clippers to 80, the Warriors to 90, the Lakers to 87, the Spurs to 92. But yeah, you got
Should we make a mental note? Is scoring down? Not to take anything away from the Timberwolves, because that's obviously amazing. You remember last year how the NBA just secretly changed the physicality rules halfway through the year, and then scoring went way down?
Has that happened?
Should we
in the in-season?
Should we take a
tournament?
note of that? Because just thinking about last night's result, like the game ended at like 87-92. Should we just take a mental note as like, I'm just gonna do some box score watching. I'm gonna be a box score watcher.
Well, even that Rockets Thunder game over the weekend, that felt like the 90s. That felt like the 80s. Watching a replay of a game from the 80s, because they were just really playing. I mean, they obviously shot enough threes, but they were really playing within the arc.
I take back my question. It's just the Timberwolves are awesome.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, because I'm seeing the team scoring under 100. It's like the Wizards against the Celtics, the Magic against the Knicks. But then I'm looking like Jazz Clippers had 144 to 107. Cavs are putting up 130. Bulls putting up. Okay, yeah. It's just the good teams are good.
Lately, I feel like the good teams have only been playing the bad teams, other than in the in-season tournament.
Yeah. Okay, my 3-man lineup. Now, I broke the minimum possession rule because it'd be too funny not to include this 3-man lineup. Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, and Joel Embiid. They've played 98 possessions together. Are they horrible, bad, okay, good, or great?
Look, I got to be honest with you. The first time when I was looking at 3-man lineups, I forgot to put on the West only filter, and I saw this one. It's terrible.
No,
is it not?
It's great. It's plus 8.4.
Oh, okay.
But
I was
with
looking at
the
something else.
Biggest asterisk you have ever seen in your life. So, yeah, this is actually an amazing 3-man lineup by the numbers, but when you dig into the numbers, it gets scary. They're 100th percentile in defense, 80 points allowed per 100
Let's
as a 3-man
go.
unit.
That's not so shabby.
They're 0th percentile in offense.
Okay. That's what I was looking at.
88 points per 100.
Well, when you put together Joel Embiid, Paul George, and Tyrese Maxey, you're thinking that you're going to give up a little bit on offense. Just kidding.
Yeah, so they turn the ball over on 1 out of every 5 possessions.
Yeah.
So literally, they've basically played 100 possessions. They turn the ball over in 20 of them. And 35% of their shots are coming from the mid-range, which I got to say, pairing up Paul George and Joel Embiid is not a shocker.
Yeah, no, I mean, we were talking about how this year's Bucks really remind you of last year's Lakers. This year's Sixers really remind me of last year's Suns.
Okay, here's the part where the asterisk comes in, though, because yes, the offense should get better. Yes, they'll probably drift toward more like 28% of shots getting taken from the mid. They'll probably not turn the ball over 1 out of every 5 trips. Maybe they'll turn it over, I don't know, like 12% of the time. 60% of the shots taken against this lineup were threes, and opponents only made like 25% of those. So they are due for some insane regression on defense, and I don't know.
There's got to be some progression on offense. They can never see the court together.
They're going to progress on offense, but I'm a little worried that this could, like, once there's like 300 possessions in the data, it goes from like plus 8.4 to like plus 4.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. The Sixers are just, when you think it can't get worse for the Sixers, it always does. Like there's something lurking around the corner. McCain is now injured for
Indefinitely.
a really long time. Embiid broke his face. We were alluding to that earlier. And like we just got through like a really soft part in their schedule. To start off December, the Sixers played against the Hornets, the Magic without Franz or Paolo twice in a row. Then the Bulls, the Pacers, which the Pacers low-key turning around. Got to shout out the Pacers. And then the Hornets. And they're playing the Hornets tomorrow, but then they have Cavs, Spurs, Celtics right after that.
And the Sixers are still the 12 seed.
Dude, I think they could really, like, we're getting into that territory where they could miss the play-in. They could miss the play-in.
Okay, I'm going to do some math. Can they go 6-4 on average the rest of the season, every 10-game segment?
I don't know. Can they? I feel like probably not. Probably not. They have not demonstrated any ability to do that throughout the entire season.
Okay, Patrick, if they can win, on average, 60% of their games, just barely be above 500 the rest of the way, they will get to about 43 wins. Is that enough to make the play-in? I think it is.
I don't know. They gotta jump one of.
They can jump the Bulls and the Pistons and the Nets. They can for sure jump all three of those teams.
They will jump the Nets. I don't know if they'll jump the Bulls and the Pistons. Because neither one of those teams really, I don't think they're gonna like put on the full tank.
Okay,
I just think there's a lot of ground to make up.
If they go 500 the rest of the way, they win 50% of their games the rest of the way, they will have a 37-win season. I feel like 37 wins is enough to pass the Bulls.
Probably, but not definitely anymore.
The Bulls are 12-15. They are not good.
They're not great, but like they play in the East.
But what if they trade LaVine?
If they trade LaVine, yes, like they could definitely fall out. They will definitely fall out. But I don't know. I'm not convinced they're going to end up trading LaVine. Is this where we talk about trading LaVine?
No, we have to save something for next week.
Okay. I'm just saying,
all right, well,
this is a hot topic.
Yeah, while we're on this side tangent, I do have a question.
I've got an answer.
If the Sixers get to the play-in and they're the 7 seed and it's 7-2 Cavs versus Sixers and Embiid is looking at his best come April, better than what we've seen so far this season, any upset potential in your eyes or absolutely not?
I'm not picking him. Personally, I'm not picking him. I might think about it for like a quick. What about you?
It would depend what Embiid and George look like.
Yeah.
Like if George looks like, last year's George and Embiid looks like 90% of last year's regular season Embiid, I think I'd pick them.
I'm just saying we got healthy Paul George in the playoffs last year.
Yeah, he was good in 2 games.
He was good in 2 games. He gave us a classic James Harden performance.
I mean, that's better than Tobias Harris, who's good in no games.
That's true. Hey,
if the Sixers got 2 good Paul George games in last year versus 0 good, they could have beaten the Knicks.
They could have beaten the Knicks if they got two good Paul George performances last year. But I don't know. I'm just saying, like, he was not great in the playoffs.
Oh, no. Year. Yeah, outside of those 2 games, he was healthy.
Abysmal. And I don't know. It's a long season.
His dad.
He was good against his dad.
All right, 4-man lineups.
4-man lineups. Are you trading Michael Porter Jr. for Zach LaVine though?
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. That's what I like to hear.
Mistake.
Okay, 4-man lineups. This is a little bit of a joke. Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons,
Oh no, why are we talking about
DeAndre
Portland?
Ayton, and Tumani Kamara.
Tumani Kamara, DeAndre Ayton, Jeremy Grant, and Anthony Simons.
Anthony Simons.
I'm going to say good.
They are the worst in the league. No, it was such an outlier, though. So of all of the four-man lineups in the West, there are only 3 negative net rating four-man lineups that have played over 250 minutes. This one is the worst with a negative 20.1 net rating. The second worst is Anthony Simons, DeAndre Ayton, Denny Avdia, and Tumani Kamara with a negative 4.8. Like, this lineup is so bad. 277 minutes. And the reason why I bring it up is because we just entered trade season, and these motherfuckers are supposed to be the ones that are, like, making contenders and, like, the last piece of these teams. And I'm like, if the good players on the Trailblazers can't even have good lineup data together, like, are these guys really worth trading for?
No, I feel like Jeremy Grant is the most overrated asset in the NBA. Like, I feel like the idea of Jeremy Grant's one of those players. It's like, if you don't watch him, you're like, oh, he's tall, he can shoot, he can kind of create for himself. It's like, the reality of Jeremy Grant is like, walk into a post-up fadeaway with 19 seconds on the shot clock. Like, that's the actual reality of watching Jeremy Grant play basketball.
And he's a loser.
Yeah,
He is a loser.
he left the Denver ecosystem
for
to
the
try to.
same money for Detroit.
Yeah, so he could be the guy where he could set up the team to be good enough to draft Cade Cunningham.
And then he was like, fine, I'm ready to compete. Send me
No,
to
he is a
Portland.
loser, and so is DeAndre Ayton. He doesn't have the spirit.
Yes, he doesn't have the spirit. He needs to have like a Christmas Carol kind of like reckoning, DeAndre Ayton. Like the big men of Christmas's past need to greet him and be like, you were gifted with the most perfect big man body ever.
That seems like a Bleacher Report sketch that would have come out about 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I feel like there's some karma going on.
Elaborate.
They should have treated Damian Lillard better.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So Portland's cursed now too.
Yeah.
I actually
mean,
think Portland
Portland
is
is
cursed.
cursed. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, the craziest thing about Portland is like, I know they don't even really get roasted too much for the Greg Oden pick. Like,
It was a good pick.
but when Greg Oden was at Aldridge and Roy all played together, they were winning at like a 70-win pace on all the games they played. Like, they were disgustingly good when those guys played together.
Yeah. I mean, and then you got like the worst luck ever with Bill Walton. And I mean, they didn't deal with that. They dealt with that pretty much as well as the San Antonio Spurs dealt with Kawhi's injuries. But yeah, I mean, it's always been rough and then the Sam Bowie sounding like RFK again. Then the Sam Bowie pick over MJ is that's a rough one. But
I feel like Portland's cursed. Also, I feel like it comes out every little bit, like NBA, like rumor mill. Obviously, like no one really cares about like small market medical teams, but I feel like I see it reported a lot that Portland like low key has like the worst medical staff in the NBA. Like I've seen that come out a couple times.
I mean, all of their players seem to constantly be injured.
and like yeah,
And they employed Chauncey Billups as their head coach in the year of our Lord 2024.
Yeah, interesting choice.
yeah. I don't know.
I don't know how long he's going to last.
I do feel like the way they handled the Dame thing was kind of weird. They're like, "This is our franchise guy," and he was like, "Oh, you guys are trying to tank? Maybe it doesn't make sense for me to be here." And they're like, "Fuck you, Dame."
Yeah. How can you say that?
It's a little
You don't want to be here?
like you don't even want me here. You're trying to tank.
Fuck you. We're sending you
Drag
to Milwaukee.
I'll drag you to 30 wins. Okay. Well, go Portland.
Yeah, I don't know. I just want to say it because it's good to bear in mind going into trade season is like these guys are available for a reason.
You know who I saw is available, and I really don't get it? Jordan Poole. Like I heard like some teams are interested in Jordan Poole.
The Nuggets gave him a look.
Why? Jordan Poole had a play the other day where he crossed somebody over, broke somebody's ankles, and instead of shooting the open shot, decided to point at the guy, which gave the defense enough time to then contest the shot, so he had to pass it.
Yeah, I saw that. Hey,
What is the point of that, dude?
I mean, Jordan Poole can say something that Jeremy Grant, Anthony Simons, and DeAndre Ayton and Tumani Kamara could never say. He's a champion.
I don't understand. He was like good in that championship run too.
Yeah.
I feel like going the Draymond punch, like I don't know. That was
I do believe we're gonna get like a Jordan Clarkson grown-up era of Jordan Poole's career. It's just maybe not yet.
yeah. I think it's like 5 years from now.
Yeah.
Wait, do you think the Draymond punch like damaged his brain?
That's what I was
that what
alluding to.
I mean,
I don't
maybe.
know.
There's a lot of evidence to the facts. Causation correlation.
It was a pretty strong. It was a good hit.
It was a good hit.
Yeah.
It might just be like, I don't know.
Wizard's brain.
Wizard's brain. Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is Wizard's
Talk
brain.
about cursed franchises.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, the Wizards, nothing good can happen to that franchise. But it must be just weird.
They need a new name.
They do need a new
What is with DC franchises and terrible team names?
Well, it's because they made them all like either like gun related or like Native American related, and then they're trying to walk it back and just
I feel like
do
also
alliterations.
the whole point of the city is to exist as this political hub, and I feel like with as divisive as politics have gotten, it's like let's stay away from political names.
I mean, I feel like they need to lean more into the Wizard part of it. I think that's the mistake because the logo and the branding has nothing to do with Wizards.
Yeah, the logo
at
and the
all.
branding is all just like this is America.
Yeah,
magicians everywhere.
dude, I'm down. Like halftime show is just like a sick ass magic show. Like, come on.
Have you seen
Every
that
time.
horrible jersey, their city jersey this year? It's just blue and red with no like white or black accents.
I know.
It's
I can't say that I have.
It's abysmal. Okay, my 4-man lineup. I figured we have to talk about this team because it's so funny. Terry Rozier,
Let's go.
Tyler Hero, Jimmy Butler, and Bam Adebayo. So the Heat's 4 core.
I'm going
4-4.
elite. I'm going elite.
It is good.
Okay.
But this is what's really interesting about this lineup. The most played fifth person with them at almost 200 possessions is Nikola Jovic, and that 5-man grouping is minus 20.
He's had a down year this year.
But when they play with Highsmith, Pelly Larson, Drew Smith, they are really, really, really good. Like astonishingly good. And that's why overall the lineup is plus 3.5. It's a great offensive team, and it's a league average, below league average defensive team, but the offense is actually good enough to make it work. And part of the reason why the offense is good enough is they rebound 30% of their misses, and they don't turn the ball over.
Yeah, they got some dogs in that lineup that are willing to hit the glass. Do you think the Heat could play like a Uno reverse and invest in a fifth starter?
Kind of. Well, here's the weird thing. This is what surprised me. They've only played 18 possessions with the core 4 and Jaquez.
That is weird. And he's supposed to be
The guy.
The
He's
guy.
supposed to be like hey, we lost all these guys the last 3 years. Jaquez, come in.
But from what I saw with like the minutes lately, Pell Larson has been playing like more and more and more minutes.
Yeah,
It seems like they kind of believe in him right now more than even Jaquez.
Yeah, and Highsmith has been like, I don't know if Highsmith himself is the greatest, but like it feels like every time he's out there, the team seems to do good.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's one of those guys.
I mean, the tough thing is they don't really have picks, but I feel like they could cobble together enough value with some matching contracts to, I don't know, get what would be the perfect fifth guy in this lineup? What are you looking for?
I feel like Jaquez is kind of the perfect fifth
Yeah.
guy. I mean, I guess really what you want though, really what you want is another like defensive dog. Because Jimmy's an elite defender, Bam's an elite defender, but Hero and Rozier, it's
you're
kind
giving
of
them a
like
lot.
the broken fence that you can just push over to get to the rim.
A year removed, how are you feeling about the Rozier trade?
I didn't really love it to begin with, and I still don't love it.
Yeah.
I just feel like we didn't need a big shot creating guard. We already had one in Hero.
Yeah, they're kind of like the exact same thing. And I feel like, I don't know, the best form of this Miami team right now is probably a team where one of those guys is your super sixth man.
Like, I don't know if they were trying to get the like Dragic facsimile,
I feel like,
but like
that's what it
Rozier
is.
and Dragic are very different.
Yeah, it's super, super different.
Yeah.
Dragic was never a guy that hunted for his own shot, and that's like Rozier's bread and butter.
Yeah, and I feel like Rozier is much more of like a perimeter shot creator, whereas Dragic was so good at getting to the rim even as he got older.
Hey, he's a Steve Nash disciple.
I love Goran Dragic. I don't know. I think the Heat are, I don't know, they're 13 and 11. They're like right there with the Bucks. They're right ahead of the Hawks. Like it seems like they're going to avoid the play-in.
They could put their foot to the gas is all I'm saying.
I feel better about them right now than I did a month ago.
Yeah. I feel a little bit better about them right now than I did really at any point last season.
Like, I don't know if they could I don't think they could beat the Magic when the Magic get healthy. I don't think they're going to beat the Knicks, but like, if you told me it's like Game 7 in the Garden and Jimmy Butler's making Cat cry, like
they could
I
make
could do it.
any of those teams
down.
sweat.
Yeah.
Like I don't really see them being able to compete with maybe the Celtics and the Cavs. But I don't know. If you get up to 4-5, you don't have to worry about that right away.
I kind of feel like they could maybe beat the Cavs if, like, could you picture a scenario where it's like game 5 in Miami and the Heat are doing what they did to the Bucks and it's like, holy shit, Spoelstra found a way to just break the Cavs spacing.
Yeah, that would be the whole thing. It would be like a rebounding battle at the end of the day.
Yeah, I feel like the Cavs, as much as I love them, I do feel like this two big structural issues could be a problem if they go against like
especially like
Spoelstra, who's like, I'll figure out some
Bam a lot, draw those bigs out, and then Jimmy's just like attacking the attacking the rim constantly.
Yeah, I don't think I'd pick the Heat right now, but like I could see a weird, like they just have some sort of weird structural thing that Spoelstra is just destroying with the other team. But I don't know. Should they try to do a piece and try to do one more miracle run with Jimmy?
Come on, one more run.
Yeah, one more run.
I don't think they're gonna be able to trade him.
Can we talk about how we did a Jimmy trades pod last week, and then Jimmy's agent was like, "It's bullshit," and then Shams was like, "It's not bullshit."
I know, dude. I gotta be honest with everything that like I've really tried to like look at as much reporting as there's been done. I think Jimmy's agent is just flat out lying.
Yeah, I think so too.
Like it, and that's kind of crazy the way he called out Shams.
I think also, I don't know why, Patrick, I've seen like 10 different Jimmy Butler in a Suns jersey mock-ups.
Well, I mean, how does
that like a thing? How is that even possible?
I mean, okay, let's talk this through. So, all the reporting that's been done, including John Gambadoro, the like #1 Suns reporter who just literally never reports anything that isn't about to happen or isn't the case, they've all reported that Jimmy Butler's #1 trade destination, if he could choose it, would be the Phoenix Suns, which makes a lot of sense. Matt Ishbia is dying to pay any superstar a super max contract the second they get to Phoenix. But to answer your question, is it possible? Yes. Cap-wise, it is possible. It would have to be a one for two deal. Bradley Beal, Devin Booker, or Kevin Durant for Jimmy Butler and a minimum contract. Nobody realized, but apparently in this CBA, you can aggregate contracts if you're in the first apron with a veteran's minimum deal. So it would be like Jimmy Butler and Alec Burks. Now, with that being said, is it possible cap-wise? Yes. But why it's not going to happen for any Suns fans that might be listening to this, to make a Jimmy Butler trade happen to the Suns, a couple of things have to happen. One, Jimmy Butler has to be down for it. Seems like he's down. Two, the Suns have to be down for it. Seems like the Suns are down and ready to pay him a max contract if he gets there. Now we start talking about the people that might not be up for it. 3, Bradley Beal. He has a no trade clause. He was reportedly willing to waive that no trade clause when he was in Washington to go to Miami, but I don't know if that would be the case anymore. He started this whole new life in Phoenix. I don't know if he would be willing to do that, but that's it's likely. Let's say Bradley Beal's down.
He is so not down.
Why not?
Because he wanted to go to Miami when Jimmy was there. He's not going to want to go to Miami when Jimmy's not there.
That's true, but after being relegated to like a complete meme and non-factor, I think he would be down to move back to the East Coast.
I think the problem is, I think that he would only do it for Booker, and that's a non-starter for the Suns.
But yeah, here's that's where I'm getting. Then so let's say all those three parties are all down, which I don't think is a given, like we're saying. Then you get to the Heat side of this, and it's like if the Heat are moving off of Jimmy Butler, why would they want to put on the books a contract that is even larger than Jimmy Butler's that lasts for 2 seasons after this season? Doesn't really make sense. Is it for the picks? Well, the Suns have one unprotected 2030 first round pick that they have to offer and 3 second round picks. Is that better than what you can get other places? I think arguably that might be one of the more valuable first round picks available in the league because of how the Suns have operated the last couple of years. But I just don't think so. And then it gets to the question, like, are the Heat going to do Jimmy like a big favor to get him where he wants to go? That doesn't happen midseason. So there's been a lot of talk. Of course, the Jimmy orange braids, the day that rumor came out, pushed a lot of that talking. And, that's just Jimmy being Jimmy.
I feel like that's Jimmy being like, oh, people say I'm going to go to the Suns. I'm going to fuck with them.
Yeah. But I think it makes sense why Jimmy would want to go to Phoenix. On basketball wise, oh my God, he would fit perfectly. He's exactly everything Bradley Beal isn't from a superstar standpoint. But
Dude,
that
if we
is not
trade
happening.
Jimmy Butler for Bradley Beal, I'm going to be like so sad.
Yeah.
I'm just going to be depressed.
You know what? This is actually so perfect that we talked about this right now because I have a 5-man lineup.
Is it the Suns?
For you. It is the Phoenix Suns. Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Bradley Beal, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic.
I'm going to say okay.
Awful. Terrible.
Terrible.
How
many possessions?
208. Ooh. They are in the 11th percentile in net differential. They are in the 8th percentile in offensive points per possession with 103.8 points per 100 possessions. And then on defense, a little bit better, 36th percentile, 117.3. But I'm going to give you a bonus one, okay? Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, Royce O'Neal, Kevin Durant, and Yusuf Nurkic on 145 possessions.
I'm going to say that one's okay.
This one is the most elite that you can get. 99th percentile plus 37.8 differential, 132.4 points per 100 possessions on offense, and 94.6 on defense. Suns are too small. This is why they cannot win when Kevin Durant is not playing. The Suns are too small. Tyus Jones has been absolutely incredible for the Suns this year. He's having like arguably his best scoring year of his career. I think he works really, really well with all the Suns role players. He can get a bucket when the Suns need it, but lineups with Tyus Jones, Devin Booker, and Bradley Beal and Yusuf Nurkic, let's just leave Kevin Durant out of this. They are just too sloppy, especially with KD in there. Bradley Beal, KD, Yusuf Nurkic, their turnover numbers other than Nurk's don't like scream like, oh, it's a problem. But the way, when you watch the games, the way these three swing, and I love KD. KD's amazing. KD's first team All-NBA candidate. When they're zipping the ball around, they are just so careless with the ball. They don't get back. And just that little tweak of size and reliability in Royce O'Neal, who has been absolutely incredible this year, are all the difference. So, I mean, I don't know. We just did a long thing on a Bradley Beal trade. And there's a lot of discussion in like Sun circles of like, would you want to include the 30 pick for Jimmy Butler? Want to include the 30 pick for Jimmy Butler? I would trade that pick just to get off Bradley Beal at this point.
He's finally off the Beal trade. Hey. Let's go.
And, like, I will still always say, I think the math made sense to me when they did it. But at this point, it's just not working. And I mean, you're stuck between a rock and a hard place with this no trade clause. And I think like Brad, there's a world where he would be awesome, but like it's time to talk about him being a super sixth man. It's time to talk about like, how do we get the most out of Bradley Beal? How do we make a world where Bradley Beal can just be Bradley Beal? Because right now it's not working and it shouldn't be this bad.
I feel like Bradley Beal was at his best when he had John Wall, the like athletic, diving to the hoop, kick out guy. And I feel like the Suns just never, like Tyus Jones, like he's just not that uber athlete.
Well, yeah, he doesn't drive obviously like how John Wall used to. But also it's just like the Suns, when Bradley Beal is on the court with the starters, rely on Brad to do so much from a defensive standpoint. There's just like they're having him screen a bunch, which I think like you can't get around that when he's basically your three. Like he has to be doing stuff like that. But I think in a vacuum, that's not how you maximize Bradley Beal.
No. All right, my 5-man lineup. I've got Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, Mikal Bridges, OG Anunoby, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Ooh. Good
leading great.
Okay.
880 possessions. They've played a lot, as Tibbs teams do. 120 offense, really good. 114 defense, about league average. So a good offense, a league average defense. What's interesting about this team is I was expecting there to be the like, this is the thing they do so well. Mm-hmm. And they're kind of just good at everything and great at nothing.
Okay.
Which is, I don't know. I thought that was a little interesting.
It's not even like scoring.
Yeah, it's like 120 offense is good. 114 defense is league average. Like, but like I'm talking about like, it's not like they're an elite 3-point shooting team. It's like they're a good 3-point shooting team. They're a good mid-range team. They're a good rim team. They're just not a great rim mid-range.
Yeah.
They're good at turnovers. They're not great at turnovers. They're good at, getting to the free throw line. They're not great. It's like everything they do is good. They don't have that one thing that's like, this is what they do.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean,
the one thing
I'm very excited to see how this Mitchell Robinson coming back works for the Knicks.
Yeah, but for this lineup, the one thing I really did like, and just miscellaneous says Brunson and Towns are pretty equal at like 25 points per game. And I think Bridges and Anunoby going up a little bit from 3-point will help this team. Like that is what could, like they're both shooting like around 35, 33. If those guys can get to 36, 37, that could push this team from like good 3-point shooting to elite 3-point shooting, which I think changes the math for them. But the one thing I do like projecting forward for this team is they're not transition reliant at all. This team plays pretty much exclusively in the half court with their starting lineup, which I really like for the playoffs going forward.
Yeah, I mean, that's about as sustainable as it gets, right?
Yeah, and I think, like, I know they got absolutely bombed out of their mind by the Celtics, which, like, the defense is a big worry, but, like, theoretically with this group of Hart, Bridges, and Anunoby, like, they should be a little bit more insulated from protecting themselves from a 3-point barrage like that than most teams, and I think, like, I feel better about them in the playoffs knowing that this isn't like Josh Hart and Anunoby are just forcing a million turnovers. Like it's actually like they're running real offense and getting real results out of it. Even if it's not like number popping, it's like they're good.
Yeah, you'll get the defensive bump in the playoffs just from the ratcheted up intensity. And I mean, I think Mitchell Robinson is like a huge thing coming back.
Yeah, I think
as well as Precious Achiuwa, he just got back. Jericho Sims, they've been so thin on the front line. And I mean, there's been a lot made of like Mikal Bridges' struggles to start the season, especially on the defensive end, I feel. And I mean, I think something to keep in mind with Mikal is he's always had like a relatively good to elite big rim protector behind him throughout his career. He had DeAndre Ayton. He had Nick Claxton, who Nick Claxton was really good for the Nets last year. I think once Mitchell Robinson gets back and you start peppering in those lineups where it's like you've got a super elite guy from that standpoint and even some two big lineups, I think the defensive numbers are just going to keep ticking up and up and up.
Yep. All right. So that was the lineup exercise. I feel like we went all over the place with that.
We did.
But, did doing this exercise change the way you feel any about these teams?
I was telling you before, like, I don't know. I keep thinking back to our Western Conference preview episode where I had the Lakers and the Suns, and I can't remember. I think maybe also the Timberwolves in the high variance tier. And the more I think about them, all three of those teams, really.
Our teams?
Our teams, the pod home teams, I just don't think there's a universe where any of these teams can muster up the consistency to go on a run in the playoffs.
What about the universe where the Suns tank and trade Kevin Durant to the Lakers for Dalton Connect and Austin Reeves?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think a move like that would really be beneficial for the Lakers, especially.
What about the move where the Lakers give the Timberwolves Anthony Davis?
Yeah, I also...
I'm into that.
I like that. I like that for the Timberwolves, actually. Yeah, and I think just like from a broader in-season tournament or NBA Cup perspective as well, and I kind of indicated this last week, coming into the season, in my mind, I had the Celtics on a tier of their own. The Thunder are there now for me. Their point differential, points per game differential this year is plus 12.1. That is like with 95-96 Bulls, 70-71 Bucks, 71-72 Lakers, like the most elite point differentials through 25 games that we have ever seen. The way they play defense, I think, is so sustainable, and they haven't even shot well from three this year. They don't even have Chet yet. Isaiah Hartenstein is like he's incredible. He's a star for them. Like, he fits so perfectly well. I think those are like kind of my two biggest.
Yeah,
I
still have the Thunder winning the West. I just have a hard time seeing them. I still think I have the Celtics on like maybe a half tier above them. Just because I feel like what makes the Thunder so great is like the defense is super, super elite, but like I don't know, man. The Celtics got like Tatum, Brown, Derek White, Drew Holiday. It's not like the Celtics are like this offensive only team. Like the Celtics are like the ultimate, like everyone's a two-way player.
No, I hear you, but like I mean, we talk about a lot best player in the series. Who's the best player in the series?
Shea.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. But I mean, as much as a Tatum detractor I've been,
yeah.
I still feel like Tatum at any given time can
Tatum is sick.
Be better than Shea.
Yes, 100% he could be better. I think on average, we're both in agreement. Shea plays at a higher level.
I think the hard part for me is for the Thunder to win that series, I think Shea would have to be the best player in 6 out of the 7 or 7 out of the 7 games. But I think for the Celtics to win the series, Tatum only needs to be the best player in the series 2 out of the 7 games.
Yeah. I mean, and then Peyton Pritchard only has to be the best player in the series like
once.
He just,
which he will.
Yeah, which he will.
The Pritchard Caruso battle.
Actually, bringing up Peyton Pritchard reminds me of a thought I had the other day. I think we're going into an era of the NBA where we're going to have a lot of like James Harden, OKC Thunder players. Like Peyton Pritchard is really good.
Yeah,
I think he's like, I think he could maybe be like maybe like the second best player on a playoff team in like a normal world. And in this world, he is just like the 7th best player on one of the better teams we've seen in the last 25 years. But I think this is going to happen more and more often.
Yeah, the league is way too talented.
Where these really great teams with really great front offices, they're constantly drafting really well. Keeson Wallace is another guy that I think is like that.
Bro, they have Nikola Topic just sitting in their medical ward right now. Like, that guy's never going to play for them.
Ever. I don't know. Just something I've been thinking about. Maybe in the offseason we can do OKC, James Harden.
The next Hardens?
Yeah, watch.
Okay, hot streak shooting slump.
Let's do it.
Max.
I'm going to say hot streak.
Nice.
Yeah, I've had a good week. Went to a great holiday party this weekend. I saw Wicked last night.
What'd you think?
You know, I liked it.
Okay.
I liked it. I wasn't like I'm not like,
You weren't as blown away as I was.
I'm not running through the streets, singing the songs, but I had a good time. I will say I did kind of glaze over at a couple moments in the movie and sort of space out and start thinking about other stuff.
Well, that's all that weed that you smoke. Kidding.
Next thing, you're like, that Randall.
Yeah.
But it's been a chill week. I like this time of year quite a bit. It's a nice time I feel like it's just quieter. It's, it gets dark earlier, but I kind of like it. I don't know, because when it does get dark, it gets like really dark.
Yeah.
And it just feels sort of
all the old people get off the roads.
Yeah. And it's just like less people driving around. It's just nice, quiet, cozy.
So I have a question about the getting dark earlier thing. Because I was under the impression nobody likes when it gets dark earlier, but I heard on a separate podcast where they were discussing the actual nitty-gritty of daylight savings time that the quote I heard was people want longer days in the summers and shorter days in the winters. Mm-hmm. So you like the shorter days in the winters.
I think I'm just used to it at this point, so it just feels like a natural rhythm of life kind of thing.
And how do you feel about that? I feel like I want longer days all the time.
All the time?
Yeah. I mean, that makes more sense.
Yeah.
I thought I was in the majority, but now I'm wondering, am I in the minority with that opinion?
Hey, you know what? I'm kind of more in like a agnostic area with this, to be honest. Like my days are the same length every single time.
Regardless of
I don't care where the sun is.
Yeah.
I still have 24 hours to work with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I feel the same way, but I do like when it's sunny out. Well, also, kind of interesting because I guess there's been a lot of talk in our political system about daylight savings time. I feel like the one topic we can all come together on in some way. But one thing I hadn't considered is a big part of it is some of these states could just, nix it and just change what time zone they're in. That would also help it.
Arizona.
Yeah.
We've been
you
working
guys are
without
the unique one, yeah.
Without daylight savings time for forever. Maybe that's why I just don't feel any sort of way about it, because I'm like, I don't even notice when it happens.
I do feel like I'm more productive when the sun is up, so I'm just like, less sun means less productivity.
Yeah, well, I guess, in Iowa, because Iowa's so farther north, so your summer days must be really long in Iowa, and your winter days must be really short.
Yes.
Whereas in Cali, it's not as varied.
Yeah, it's tough out there in the Midwest.
I'm always doing better when the suns are up.
I think
so. You're on a slump.
It's funny that you say that. I am on a slump. I am on a slump. This Monday, I felt like I had the slumpiest start to my day that could ever happen. I had a dentist appointment at 8 a.m. and I roll up to the dentist appointment.
You'd be going to the dentist a lot, dog.
It was the conclusion of my root canal. I had to get my crown on, and it was $840 with my insurance.
Woof.
Which
right,
was
Luigi.
tough because I already paid a bunch of money the first time I went in for this root canal. I'm like, why the hidden fees? Why not just like hit me with it? And I have to go in again for the same thing. They're like, oh yeah, this is a semi-temporary crown, and we'll get on your permanent crown in January. I'm like, why don't we just throw that shit on there? Like, what's going on? I've had 2 temporary crowns now.
What part of town is this dentist in?
It's in Beverly Hills.
Uh-oh.
I know. But, okay, the kicker. I walk out after I get my work done, and there's a freaking parking ticket on my car.
Yes.
On my new car. And
Welcome to the resistance. We're going to radicalize you.
One, I should have looked at the signs better. I have been in LA for long enough that this should not be happening to me. But I was parked at a meter, and the meter took my money and started flashing green when I left. So I'm like, if I paid for the thing, usually they don't like process that. Am I wrong? Am I tripping out about that?
What was the issue? What was the parking
Street
citation?
cleaning.
I feel like, dude, half the meters in LA now, either the card reader doesn't work.
Well, yeah, the screen didn't work at all.
You can't see what it says at all.
Or the button does. I had one the other day. This was actually infuriating. I put my card in. it like takes the card, and then I have to, choose how much time I want it for. So I like put in the time, and the OK button doesn't work. So I can't lock in my parking purchase.
Damn.
So I
even
literally
when you're
moved.
trying to do it,
Yeah.
they just. My favorite thing, honestly, my absolute favorite thing to see in LA is the parking meter polls where the thing has just been knocked off. I don't know who's going around knocking off the payment receptacles or whatever it's called.
It's the Grinch.
But they are my favorite people because, like, what are you going to do? How long have I been parking here, LA? You don't
This
know.
is down in Culver?
Yeah, just random places here and there. It's like finding $100 bill
Yeah.
taped to the ground.
It's pretty lit.
Yeah, it's amazing. I can't believe there was a time in my life where paying for parking was just not even something I knew about.
Yeah, fuck paying for parking.
Like in Phoenix, big city, you don't have to pay for parking. You just park.
You know what's crazy? As bad as LA parking is, it's better than my college town. Rutgers, like, parking is like,
I feel like-
reconsider
yeah.
owning a car is how bad the parking is in my college town.
Any big universities like that, it's like
Yeah.
so shot.
Max, question, because
Yeah.
Silver Lake, like on Sunset in Silver Lake, like how there's like that big parking lot behind a lot of the businesses.
Yes.
Did they ever fix the parking meter there? I feel like that thing's been broken for the last like 4 years.
No.
So it's still free parking.
Yeah, it's free. Yeah.
That's good.
It's just a
It's
loophole.
not supposed to be.
There's just we got a friend on city council who's just making sure that we delay that spending the money.
That project.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a parking kerfuffle. Well, not parking, driving kerfuffle as well. Yesterday, I was checking my mailbox. Did my Christmas gifts. Like, wholesome me.
Wholesome, James.
I come to find out Orange County, the worst county in the United States, sent me a fucking toll road. There's toll roads. It's California. We don't
yeah.
have highways. We have freeways.
I know.
I feel like my freedom was taken away from me. It's total bullshit. They're like, please mail us a check. I don't want to mail Orange County a check for $6.
Wait, you can't pay it online?
Didn't say in the letter.
Oh, you can pay that shit.
I gotta
You'll be
figure
able
it
to find
out.
that.
But what's annoying is it's like, so it's $6, but if you don't pay it by the end of this week, it is $106.
Damn.
What the fuck?
That's
is
more
that?
than my parking ticket.
And what's crazy is like I'm just driving on the road. I don't even realize it's a toll road. It's not like the East Coast where they have the stops. You know what I mean?
That's how they get you.
Yeah. Do you have a fast pass thing on your windshield?
It's California.
You should get one of those.
But it's
No,
California.
he doesn't drive enough.
Yeah,
How much are you going to Orange County?
I don't like Orange County.
Yeah,
I
he doesn't need a fast
don't
pass.
like Orange County. I lived there for a year and a half and I didn't like it.
Oh wow. That's
Thank you for
wild.
your service.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I tested the waters for you guys. But no, I'm on a hot streak.
Hot streak.
Let's go.
Regardless, I went to 3 different holiday parties since we last chatted.
Dude, me too. It's been too much.
It's been too much, but what's hilarious is mine were 3, and they could not be any different from each other. I had Jesse's Team Bucket Squad holiday party, which is, like there's a costume contest.
second place in the costume contest.
There's a DJ.
Nice.
There's an open bar. There's like catered Christmas dinner.
Food was very good. I gotta
the
say.
food was incredible. There's like the greatest like Christmas light show you've ever seen. There's like a beer pong tournament. It's like
all that you'd expect.
It's
from
just-
a
it's
Jesse Rydell host.
it's like the most fun holiday party ever. Then on Sunday, I have my financial planners party, which is hilarious because it's like him and this law firm he works with. And it's like at a house in studio. It's just at a house. And they have like the greatest charcuterie spread, but it's like low key. No one knows each other. It's like nobody knows each other there.
How was that?
It was actually pretty good.
Did you make any friends?
I just talked to my tax planner the whole time and my girlfriend. We had a good time. And
Yeah, any tax tips?
no tax tips.
That's on the Patreon podcast, everybody.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Actually, I got my tax projection. I'm happy with the number. So
Nice.
That's a hot streak. But then yesterday, I do my girlfriend's law firm's holiday party, which it's like if one extreme is like Jesse's
Yeah.
and the middle ground is my tax planners. This is the other extreme where it's like everyone's seated at like a dinner table and it's just like a dinner.
Yeah.
And it's like all lawyers.
How many
and
people-ish?
Maybe like 27, 28.
Damn, so it's like a succession long-ass table.
Yeah, it's just like a table, and I'm sitting next to the head of the law firm.
Nice.
And somehow, some way, all of our conversations went right toward drinking. And I'm like, this guy must think me and my girlfriend are degenerates when she's not at work.
I thought you were going to say basketball.
Yeah, me too.
I was so disappointed.
No, like I don't even know how. First we started talking about beer, and then we were talking about wine, and then we were talking about traveling, and somehow all of our conversations about traveling were like, so when you go to Portugal, did you try the wine? Like, I don't know. I was like, this guy must think so poorly of us. But no, it was fun. Over the weekend, I had a good weekend too, holiday parties included. And yeah, I watched some basketball.
How are you feeling about costume contests at Christmas parties?
I kind of loved it. The problem is it's such a limited theme.
Yeah, I'm starting
won.
to get out on it.
Even though
I
you
was
want to
close,
retire with the belt.
I didn't win. Black Jesus,
Black
Nick
Jesus
Jackson won. Shout out Nick. But here's my thing. Maybe it's just how old I am right now, and we're all very similar in age, so you guys might be. Sounds like you're experiencing it too. But like, all of my friends have like settled in apartments that they like at this point, that they want to host in. Yeah. So literally every day of the week, there is a Christmas party hosted by somebody. And to the point where it's just like, it's too much for me. Like I've been to like 6 Christmas parties in the last
Christmas
12
parties
days.
are on the rise this year.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
You can only have so much Trader Joe's wine and charcuterie before you just start to feel ill.
And then the reason why I bring the costume element into it is it's just like, it's an added lift to where like, look, I don't have time to put together a costume. I got 11 other Christmas parties to go to. And I went to 2 costume parties.
Yeah, I don't like a Christmas costume party. That's just like
too
Halloween's
much.
over.
It's
Come on.
fun. It's fun, but just the added prep of Christmas parties, I don't know. There's just a lot.
I will say, I thought it was sort of astonishing that we did a Christmas costume party and there was not one repeat.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That was
and
shocking.
not arranged at all.
Wow.
No.
Yeah, I would figure there'd be like 4 Buddy the Elves.
There was one Buddy the Elf. There
Just
was
one.
one Grinch. Patrick and his crew were home alone.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was a literal giant gift box.
Nice.
I guess that was the closest thing we got. There was gift bags.
There was
and
gift
then
bags and gift boxes.
Okay.
That was the closest, yeah.
But like inherently different.
Yeah. Yeah, it was cool. But yeah, no, I'm on a hot streak. It's been a great week. My channel's been doing well. I'm super excited. Pod's been a lot of fun. I feel like last week's episode was a ton of fun to record. This one, I feel like had similar energy, but was more basketball
This might be our
focused.
longest episode we've ever done, too.
Yeah,
we've
this week
been
or last week.
grinding at this. Yeah, make sure to always tell us what you like in the comments too.
Yes.
'Cause what are we but entertainers for you all?
Yep, and there's a video going around of Shadur Sanders just tossing the ball to Malik Neighbors, and I'm happy.
You dreaming?
I'm getting excited.
Guys, big news out of Phoenix. The Suns announced $2 concessions value meal for NBA games at the Footprint Center. $2 hot dogs, $2 water bottles, $2 16-ounce fountain sodas.
Road trip time?
I think Patrick's moving back to Phoenix.
I am going on Christmas though. Suns, Nuggets, I will
nice.
be in the building.
That'll be
So-
a bad game to watch.
Yeah, it'll be a good way to ruin my Christmas. But you know what? The Suns get absolutely destroyed on Christmas every year. So why not see it live?
It's a tradition.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, it's not like the Nuggets have been world beaters. I am very excited to see Nikola Jokic live, though.
Yeah.
I'm
Have you
excited
ever
for the
seen him live?
I have seen him in person. I have shaken his hand. I've never seen him play basketball. Oh no, I saw him at the All-Star game, which was
There.
Doesn't
he was,
count.
He was like he was like Jordan Poole. He was honestly worse than Jordan Poole in that game.
I feel like he's really gonna put the pedal to the metal because it's Christmas.
Yeah.
I
Because
feel
he's
like,
such a...
The Nuggets
Christmas
don't
guy?
like the Suns too.
Okay. Yeah.
There's history there.
All right.
Remember when he tried to kill
Why-
Campaign?
Why are we not getting Maverick Suns?
Mavericks Timberwolves is going to happen as like a Western Conference finals rematch.
I still feel like Booker versus Luka is like the preeminent
And
Mavericks.
Kyrie.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
still feel like that's the
Kyrie, KD.
Kyrie KD. I feel like Mavericks Suns is the preeminent like beef matchup in the NBA still.
You know, I would have. I don't know if I would have rather. As a Suns fan, I guess I would rather play the Nuggets on Christmas because Luka just has no chill.
Oh, unless he's playing the Thunder.
Yeah, unless he's playing Thunder. But does that have more to do with the Thunder or the
No,
Luka?
he's just being a chill. He's the chill guy meme. All right, we'll catch you. Are we going to catch them next week? What are we doing next week?
We'll figure it out.
No plan. It will definitely be a later in the week episode. if
Maybe
it
it'll be a
happens.
Monday morning remote
Yeah.
Yeah,
type
that's sounding
deal.
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
the most possible thing.
When are you going? Are you going back home?
I'm going on Friday.
Friday.
Yeah.
Ooh. All right. Well, we'll catch you guys next week. Peace.